Order. Member's time has expired. I call the member for Fremantle.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and it's interesting to reflect on the contribution from the member for Goldstein. You can have two gents in this place with the same last name that bring very different perspectives to an issue like this. And I guess if your perspective on universities is having sat on a university board, and if your approach to access universities in terms of people having the personal agency and the resources that enable them to secure a university education or to invest in university education, then you might well take that approach. But that's not the perspective of a young Indigenous woman who attends an at-risk high school that has an on-site childcare centre so that young pregnant mums can first finish high school and then perhaps aspire to university. That's not the perspective of the young fellow who I spoke to at an open-air office on the weekend who just can't really see a way forward in his life. He doesn't understand how he's going to get an education that will enable him to participate in the workforce. He can't see how he will ever have the opportunity to buy his own home. So Labor understands that education has always been the great enabling force in Australian society, the great leveller, the key mechanism for delivering opportunity. And that's why we lifted investment substantially in universities when we were in government. And the member for Gellibrand talked about 190,000 additional students. That included 36,000 additional students from low-income families. It included an increase in Indigenous student numbers of 26% and an increase in regional student numbers of 36%. That's the commitment that we made, just like we make commitments across the full range of the education system, from early childhood and schools through TAFE and apprenticeships and university. From this government, for those people who can't secure themselves a spot at university, who can't invest in a university place, well, they get $4 billion in cuts to funding. They get an additional $4 billion in cuts to uni infrastructure. They get fee increases, 7.5%. They get a lower help repayment threshold. When I started university in 1990, it was the first year that HECS was introduced. The threshold was $22,000. $22,000 at that stage was 73% of average earnings. The new threshold, going down from $55,000 to $42,000, is less than half of average earnings. It's barely $6,000 above the minimum wage. Two-thirds of new university graduates will be women. Women face the worst of our poor and rising inequality in this country. Graduate women, the gender pay gap is bad enough as it is. Even women with university degrees face a 10% pay gap at the point of graduation. And these changes are going to make those kinds of inequities even worse than they currently are, Deputy Speaker. In Western Australia, these cuts, $75 million to Curtin University, $42 million to Edith Cowan, $26 million to Murdoch University, $50 million to the University of Western Australia, and $19 million to Notre Dame, which has a campus in my electorate. The cuts to enabling courses are among the most terrible and short-sighted and mean aspects to these changes. Enabling courses help people who otherwise are very unlikely to go to university to have that chance. I know that it's important in Western Australian electorates like mine and others. I know that Murdoch's On Track program, which is delivered in the seat of Brand, of the participants in On Track, 55% are the first in their family to attend university, 56% are from low SES households, and the success of that program is such that 70% of the people who participate in On Track go on to undergraduate enrolment. That's how successful it is. Those people now, instead of getting that assistance, face a $3,200 upfront fee. Deputy Speaker, this government is making a clear transition. It is making a clear transition from ineptitude to outright harmfulness. Proper support of our education system from top to bottom is critical to our future well-being. This government, having walked away from needs-based school funding, now seeks to squeeze universities and step down hard on university students. It's a recipe for economic harm. It is a recipe for sharply reduced opportunity and fast rising inequality. It is a shame.
I